And hello, and welcome to the Legacy Insights podcast. And I am your host, Mov'n Mike. And guess what? It is Super Bowl Sunday. Can you imagine? Listen, my obligation is to bring you some quality information, no matter what time it is. So we're not going to keep you all night. We know that everybody's getting ready for the big game. I'm going to be watching the big game in a little while after we share these nuggets with you. So we're going to jump right into the show. Again, my name is Mov'n Mike, and this is the Legacy Insights with season number 2, 2026, episode number 4. Being prepared isn't half the battle. It is the only battle. Just think about that for a quick second. Everybody tells you, oh, being prepared is half the battle. No, it's the only battle. You've got to be prepared. So we're going to jump right into the show and talk why it is the only battle. Here we go. This show is about entrepreneurship and providing insight to get your mind and your money right. We're going to be doing tips, tricks, interviews, sharing with you all the nuggets of the financial industry so that you can get your mind and your money right. We're going to be having business leaders from all spectrums sharing their nuggets, their professionalism, sharing their wisdom and knowledge so that you can add it to your goals, your dreams, and your strategies, your plans to move you from where you are to where you're going. Okay? My goal is to assist you in becoming a better informed individual, a more informed entrepreneur, so that you can get your mind and your money right. So it's time for Let's Get Smarter. Let's jump right into this information. Got my trusty show notes here, and this is what it's all about. Okay? Emergencies don't ruin lives. Unpreparedness does. Like I said, being prepared is not half the battle. It's the only battle. So when you're not prepared, you don't have an emergency plan, when you don't have a safety plan, no matter what area of life it is, it can ruin you. It can set you way back. All the great work that you've done can set you way back. So let's jump into this. Preparation is a quiet discipline that protects your family, your finances, and your future before chaos shows up. And it's coming. The metrics is 6 to 9 months. There's a significant change in your life. I want you to look back over the history and the time of your life, 6 to 9 months, possibly a little bit longer, or even shorter. There was a major event that took place, a sickness, an illness of yourself, your spouse, your children, a car breakdown. Okay? We're talking about being prepared here. An emergency, a fire. I've been burned out of my apartment on Christmas Eve. I thought I lost my entire family. This was a long time ago, over 40 years ago. I had my first son. Didn't know any better about being prepared, right? Young family, there's no rule books, right? Things happen in the blink of an eye. Being prepared, okay? The cost of waiting. Emergencies don't send calendar invites. Oh, wow. I would have to say that again. Emergencies don't send calendar invites. Hey, listen, we're going to be there in, this emergency is going to be popping up in a couple of weeks. You just really need to be ready for that. No, that's not real life. That's not how it happens. It shows up. You got to be ready for it. That's what we're talking about. Let's go. Job loss, illness, car trouble, death. These aren't if problems. The difficult conversation that we avoid as individuals, and I did prior to getting involved in the financial services arena, right? The conversation about personal protection, life insurance, I don't think I need it. I'm young. You know, life has really shown me that it is a necessity and not a nicety, or it's something that I need to avoid. I watched my parents bury a child. I had to bury a child, my youngest son. A cousin of mine, God rest his soul, the creator rest his soul, just yesterday, 49 years old, Derek Antoine Reeves, 49 years old. Cousin of mine, younger than me, all of a sudden just passed away. Left behind a family, a wife, 2 sons. But this the legacy. It's the legacy that he left that will be remembered. How did he live his life? How did he prepare his family? How did he teach his children? Unprepared. Life happens. Okay. There is no calendar invites. Most families are underprepared, and they're underpaid. So that is one of the issues that comes about. If you're underpaid, you're underprepared, how can you handle a situation? You know, I see a lot of the GoFundMe pages as I'm, scrolling and looking out there to look at, what topics need to be talked about in this show, because this is the Legacy Insights show. It touches on every aspect of our lives. And when I'm scrolling, I see these unfortunate cases, these unfortunate situations where people are just not ready for lifing. And that's why this show has such an importance to the community that I look to serve. I recently posted, I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. I started my first show back in 2019, kind of fell off, wasn't quite sure, learning, growing. But this is not going to stop me now, because this information is solely needed. Preparation doesn't remove pain, it removes panic. See, there is an insurance commercial that, one of the providers that I work with, and I work with over 250 plus providers, that has a legacy format to it. And it talks about being that check coming and checking in on a family when you no longer can check in on your family. That check does the work, and it shows up for you when you can't anymore because you're physically not here. That's what responsible men, women, family leaders do, is they prepare for the unexpected. They prepare for emergencies. God forbid there's a weather catastrophe. What do? Do you have an emergency plan? I recently took a CPR course because I have grandchildren, right? I need to know how to provide life-saving health strategies to help. I don't want to be that person standing around like, oh my God, what do I do? That's what this is all about. Let's keep it moving. Prepared people don't panic, they pivot. Why preparedness is the only battle. We started talking on this, but here it is. The framework was going to help you to address this. You can't out-earn poor preparation. right? You heard what I said. You can't out earn it. You can have a lot of money, but if you don't have a plan, your money's just sitting there waiting for you to figure it out to apply the money to it. So if you had a plan, the money's already allocated. It's already knowing what to do. The money has a destination. We talk about that all the time, right? Money must have a destination. Money is a tool. That's what it's all about. You can't hustle your way out of a crisis with no plan. And see, this is going to be one of my future episodes. Okay. You can't hustle your way out of a crisis, right? Without a plan. So there's three places most people live. Okay. They live in crisis, they live in comfort, and they live in success. The first two are where most people live, crisis and comfort. As soon as your butt's on fire, you run to comfort, right? And you stay there for a while because you're like, damn, I'm feeling okay, right? But as soon as something goes crazy, you slide back into crisis. Now the fire alarms are sounding, and you run back to comfort, and you say, ooh, I made it. I'm out of that. Why not keep running to success? Why not keep running to the place where that, like, you have some preparedness set up, some strategies, financial, emotional, safety, emergency, success plans. So not only do you have a hedge against the crisis, you have a hedge against the stress that comes along with being in a crisis. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. Being reactive is expensive. Being proactive might sound boring, but it's powerful. Okay, so here we go again. Being reactive is expensive because now you got to shell out unexpectedly funds, time, energy, money, effort, resources, time, because you weren't ready for it. Okay. Now, I don't know the story with my cousin who just passed. Unexpected death. God rest his soul. But I'm praying that they were ready. Because I send my prayers to the family. I send my prayers to my auntie because it's hard burying a loved one. We all know someone or have had recent losses, recent tragedies. It's hard. But were you prepared? Did you have those difficult conversations? That's what we're talking about here. Because I care. As a father, as a man, a family man, I care. I'm not new to this. I'm true to it. Let's keep it going. Emergency expense with no savings. It's a debt spiral. Death with no documents. It's a family crisis. Death with no documents is a family crisis. I already talked about people being on Facebook doing, GoFundMe pages. That's a crisis. You're asking strangers to help you bury your loved one because you didn't want to sit down and have a conversation about what preparedness looks like. Injury with no coverage is a lifestyle collapse. You got a lot of people driving really nice cars, but the moment they get a flat tire, they're riding that emergency tire more than the 50 miles it was designed to ride the car with. I see a lot of that going on. You got a $60,000 car with a donut on it, and you're riding that donut for weeks or months because you don't have the $250 to buy a tire, because a lot of cars don't come with spares anymore. So we're talking about being prepared. It's not half the battle. It's the only battle. Check in with me on the Legacy Insights podcast. Go to the website there on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Tap in with me. Scan that QR code. Take that financial assessment. Find out if your money right is tight. Just make sure it's there, right? This is all about being prepared. the 6 pillars of a legacy framework. I'm looking to be dropping that real soon. Okay. It's going to help you get you prepared for the life that you truly say you want. That's what this show is all about. I'm your accountability partner. I want to see you succeed. All of us together. Let's keep it going. See, the core truth is you can't prepare for what you don't understand. So understanding means you've got to have a conversation about the unknown so that you can have some perspective with it. So if you don't understand it, you're not talking about it, you're not bringing it to the forefront in dealing with it, how can you be prepared for it? See, because the niceties will numb you to the necessities. There's a 3 in for you, right? Niceties will numb you to the necessities, right? All right, now, I hope you got your pens and paper out tonight, because this is true. What learning really looks like. Let's talk about it. Knowing your numbers, income, expenses, and obligations. You got to know your numbers. Tonight is the Super Bowl. I bet you a lot of you out there got the stats to every player that are on that team. But do you know your credit score? Do you know how much money you've got saved, your debt to income ratio? Do you know what your savings target is for retirement to keep your current lifestyle as it is today, or even improving upon that? Do you know your numbers? Do you know what it's going to take for you to retire in 20 years for you younger people? Because that's what matters. Today's dollar is a lot stronger than tomorrow's. So if you're not saving today's dollars, you're going to be in a world of hurt tomorrow, right? See, I'm part of the NBA club, right? I'm in the league. Never broke again. You're not going to catch me there no more. Broke people die slow. It's a slow death, and it's not comfortable. All right, stick with me here. Understanding risks, job stability, health, and debt exposure. You got to know these things. Risk, hedging yourself. Like, you guys are betting on the game tonight. You know the stats, you know the numbers. You saying, okay, and I even got some money out on the pool, right, on the score, right, because I kind of helping with those numbers, right? But we're talking about personally now. Do you know and understand your risk? How suitable is it that you're going to score in this game of life? Because you got to be blocking, tackling, and scoring whenever it's available to you, right? I'm going to put it in some football terminology. It's Super Bowl night. I should be having on my gear tonight, but I don't, The Steelers, I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and we lost. We got the championship, the division, right? The division championship. I'm good. I'm good. We got a winning season, but we're talking now about understanding the risk and knowing what you're up against in life. Right? You got to do some blocking, tackling, scoring, passing, running. You got to be able to do all that at one time in one game of his life, right? Learning the rules of money, not just earning it. The first pillar in the legacy framework is L, for learning. You got to know the environment. You got to know the game. I always say that, capitalism is a contact sport. We're in the number one capitalist society in the world, country in the world. And you're wondering why you're losing is because you haven't learned the game of money. Money doesn't care who owns it. And I've said this a number of times. You've got to learn the game of money. How's it made? How's it grown? How's it attained? That's what this show about. That's what this show's about. Tap in with me. Go to the Legacy Insights podcast on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Tap in with me. See, so here I'm going to share with some actionable learning areas. Excuse me. What is a real emergency fund? That's a question for you. What does a real emergency fund look like to you? How would you describe it? Is it just extra money left over, or is it intentional? What is an emergency fund? It is an intentional amount of savings set aside for specific spending. Whenever you get yourself in a hard situation, car repairs, medical, life issues, you've put aside a set amount of money. And I've always said at least 12, 18 to even 24 months worth of emergency funds in case something happens so that you can cover your bills. You have to have that number in mind. You have to know what that is. That's why you have to learn who you are, what you're doing, and how you plan on doing so that you can arrive. Do you ask yourself this, if this is a want or a nicety? These are that nicety versus necessity thing. Do you ask yourself, is this a want or is it a nicety? Do you know? Ask yourself these questions so that you bring about some change. I hope you got your pens and paper out, taking down some notes. How long could you survive with a zero income? So if things were to stop right now, go look in your refrigerator, look in your freezer. You know how many people are in the house. If you don't have an emergency fund, you don't have an emergency plan, and things were to stop, you see they're laying people off by the thousands. The New York Post, 300 people. Bezos, he cut the New York Post staff by a third, 300 people, right? So he had like 900, almost 1,000 people there. He cut off just in a stroke of a pen, 300 people gone. Okay, Target, I think it was like 1,500 people, right? They're laying off in droves. Do you know if you're next? And if you don't know, you need to be prepared, because being prepared is not half the battle. It is the only battle. Okay. How long could your household survive? I'm asking the question, right? If you don't know what's in your fridge, what your bills are, do you owe money? How long can you survive? That's serious. That's a serious question. So I'm going to challenge you. If your income stopped today, how long could your household breathe? That's life sustaining. How long could it breathe? You need to know this. So after tonight, I really want you to take some serious inventory of where you are, your household, have a discussion with yourself, your spouse, your children, and look around your home. How long could you survive if the paycheck stopped today? Who could you rely on? You know, I talked about family versus relatives, right? And they're not the same. Just because you related to somebody don't mean they family. And just because you call them family don't mean that they're just relatives. You see where I'm going with this, right? Know with whom you're dealing. All right, so let's keep it moving. Okay. So that challenge, if your income stopped today, how long could your household breathe? That's a real one. But we're going to go to the second pillar. I'm sorry, not the second pillar, but we're going to talk about another pillar, which is guard, right? That is the third pillar, okay? And that is knowing that you've protected the assets that you've worked for. So guarding is not about fear, it's about responsibility. I hope you heard me here. Guarding is not about fear, it's about responsibility. You work hard. You need to protect the assets in which you've built. You wouldn't build your house on the sand at the beach, right? You wouldn't build it on the beach. You would put the pylons in first, right? You just wouldn't start just like digging out the sand and start pouring concrete. The damn foundation would break, and so the house would slide off into the damn ocean, right? You would have to put pylons down, which I used to do as a kid, putting diapers on children, right? As a dock worker, right? Yeah, Mike, I did a lot, right? So you would put pylons down. That machine would just drive that pylon down into the ground, right? And then eventually we get to a certain depth, and then they would start to frame it out and build on top of that, right? So, right, guarding is not about a fear. You wouldn't build a house just out on the sand. You would protect that asset, because guess what? It's something that you work for, right? So what does guarding look like? Emergency savings, not investments. Investments are investments. Emergency savings are emergency savings. So it's a separate fund for emergencies. It's just not money sitting around for that. You put some in some Bitcoin, you put some over in some other ETFs, right? Or you got like some money over in a IUL or a annuity or some other stock, and you got to pull that out of there, and that's your emergency fund. No, you have specific money set aside for emergencies, so you don't have to touch your investments, because their job is to grow. Their job is to grow for you. So let's keep it moving, right? Insurance as a defense and not profit. So there are policies that I've helped people set up to just pay off their home, right? Just a young homeowner, set them up in a term policy, okay? A 20, 30-year term, saying as their mortgage, okay, to cover their mortgage if something unsuspected or untimely were to happen to them. Their family would be, mortgage free. How nice would that be to provide that gift of security to your family, right? Peace of mind. I've always said freedom isn't free, right? Freedom isn't free. Legal and financial documents organized and accessible. Now, I'm going to tell you something, right? They say the shoemaker has the worst shoes. I'm guilty as charged, right? I'm going to raise my hand. I'm guilty as charged. I don't have all my documents together. I know I should, right? I need to update them, right? When things change, amounts of money change, life situations happen, you gotta make the moves. You gotta stay on top of that stuff, right? So I'm not here just preaching. I'm sharing some life experience with you, because guess what? I understand how busy life can be. That's what we're talking about here, okay? I need to talk about some guardrails. Cash reserves before consumption upgrades. So they're just basically saying, listen, you need to put that money away before you just throw it away. Put it away before you throw it away. Insurance basics: life, health, disability, and property. Doesn't get any more basic than that. You got to tap in with me so that we can do a comprehensive overview of your life, because not one size fit all. And I'm going to warn everybody here that goes out to these automated insurance type situations, and you plug in a few numbers and plug in a situation, and it spits out, oh, this is the policy that you need, and this is what will cover you. Buyer beware. Buyer beware. I'm not saying that they're not good. What I'm saying is it good for you? Because see, I don't need a computer program taking a few bits and pieces of information without getting to know me, deciding what my legacy will be. Come on now. You work hard and you're going to let some algorithm tell you what you're going to leave or what it's going to be? No. That's your job. That's my job to lay it out. So let's keep this going here. Let's stay in reality, right? Get you an advisor, get someone that you can sit down with, get to know you, get to know your family, get to see your children run around, and they can actually decide to say, provide some insight. Hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And see, because just plugging in some numbers and some, I want this and I want that, that's not really what a legacy is. That's not how it's formed, right? It's more than that. It's based on where you're at, where you want to go, and then how you want it to flower out, right? It grows and it moves. It's a living thing, your legacy. Even after you're gone, it's a still living thing. You don't just want to plug in some numbers and then that be it. So watch out for those computer automated life insurance companies. Please don't do that to yourself or your family, right? So here we go. Protect your income. Protecting legacy. I just talked about it. Hope is not a strategy. Protection is. Hope is not a strategy. Never has been, never will be. I'm going to give you some core truth again. Preparation starts with personal discipline, not money. Personal discipline, preparation starts with personal discipline, not money. So you can have all the money in your world, it's still not going to help you. It's not going to save you. It'll make you comfortable. It'll make some things right after the fact, but you're going to spend more money because you weren't prepared. Because now you're acting on emotion rather than preparation. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to break this down for you. This is the last pillar, is the why, which is you. Emotional control beats emotional spending. I just hit that, right? Leadership means planning when it's uncomfortable, having those difficult conversations about life, death, and where it takes you. And where do you want it to end up? That's an uncomfortable conversation for some people. But believe me, and I say this I hope I don't offend anybody, but even Jesus Christ didn't make it out alive. He had to be born again. And that's on a religious take, right? And so I'm just going to say it to you, right? That you've got to be prepared. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. It comes down to you. Emotional control beats emotional spending. Leadership means planning when it's uncomfortable. Consistency over intensity. All right. Are you avoiding preparation because it feels boring or it hurts? Because you're in some denial, right? They say that's not the name of a river, right? Denial. Are you relying on luck instead of leadership? Where's my leaders at? Step to the front. If not, you're going to fall back. Okay? If something happened to you, would your family be okay? We already talked about that. You got to check that refrigerator. Preparedness is an act of love. So I hope that you're getting this. Preparedness is an act of love. It's about legacy. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want your family to live? How do you want them to survive? How do you want to grow forward? Right? So, in closing, prepared people don't live in fear. They live in clarity. The legacy framework exists to reduce chaos. Those 6 pillars, okay? Learn, elevate, guard, align, change in you, exist to provide clarity in your life from where you are to where you're going, no matter where you are on the spectrum. Those pillars apply, okay? You can always learn something. You can always elevate. You can always provide more guard and protection to yourself. You can always get in better alignment and change. You can always change for the better and improve some area of your life. And it does always come down to you. All right now. So learn so you understand, guard so you're protected. It all comes down to you because it all begins and ends with you. So this is my final call to action. Don't wait for the emergency to teach you the lesson. Don't wait. Prepare now and let peace reward you. You know, my name is Mov'n Mike. I'm the host of the Legacy Insights podcast. It is always a pleasure. It is always my privilege to come here today. And I want to thank you. Thank you very much for the privilege of your time sharing with me. You could have been anywhere else tonight, but you decided to spend these 30 or so minutes with me during the Super Bowl to get your mind and your money right. I'll see you next week. Maybe having some bonus episodes in between, but episode 5 is coming, right? And look forward to seeing you then. Good night. And may the best team win.